Well, it's one of these, almost like a cliche, that you spend a long time trying to find a subject for a film. And then finally it was some friends who, they just rang me up, and they'd been ringing me for a while, and they said, there's this woman in a village near us, and you should meet her. And for ages I thought, I've got another idea. And then finally, when all those fell through, I thought, well, I'd take a chance. And I packed up my camera kit, I took a tent, sleeping bag, and I just drove. And I think there had been a message to her to say a guy is coming with a camera. And I'd heard all these rumors that she was quite fierce, that she had had lots of husbands. She had, I think, even shot one of them, possibly. There were all these rumors, wild rumors. And I just took a chance, and I went there, and straight away, the first thing she said is, you can stay, you can film, but you've got to work. So the first thing I saw her doing was she's collecting all these weeds, and you see her burning them in the film. And that was one of the first things we ever did. And we spent like a whole afternoon just picking weeds, burning weeds. And that's how it began. So it was almost like a contract, like a work contract. And I think that works really well, because sometimes in films you need to earn the right to ask questions. And I think too often we go in there and we ask quite personal questions, or we ask to film personal things about people's lives without really spending the time. We live in quite a high pressure, quick kind of environment. Everyone wants instant media, instant access to things, and this was really refreshing. It was a nice way of spending time. It felt like it was the whole summer. So I would say I went there in kind of June and left in about September, early September. So it was a long time. I think in that time I might have gone home a couple of times for weekends and to see people. Sometimes you sense when you've been together for too long and you start to annoy each other. I think I annoyed her more than the other way around, but sometimes you need to know when to go away and come back. And often you get greeted with more warmth the next time you come, because they appreciate that space. Well, this was in a sense, it's a very cruel film, really, and it was quite grueling to make, because it all sounds very idyllic, how I just described it. You arrive, you work together, everything's fun, there's all these animals, they're interesting. And they were old, and I could see that. I could see they were old animals, and she was old and had problems. But to begin with, I'd say for the first maybe 6 weeks, everything was, like I said, almost quite idyllic. I lived in she put me in a caravan. She said, you don't need your tent. And then suddenly, these people arrived, all these authority figures, if you like, and suddenly the mood, changed quite dramatically, and I could see the effect on her. And I think if it hadn't been for that initial 6 weeks, I probably wouldn't have had the rest of the film. And that was a big question to ask, how much of this suffering do you follow? So the first half has a kind of a different sort of feel, and some humor even, and then it turns into a much darker film, really, in the end. So there was a big element of luck in that story, if you can call it luck. But yeah, it was a difficult process, finally, yeah. It was certainly up and down. We had a lot of fun, but then, as I said, things changed. And it even got to the point where she said, I'm not sure we could make this film anymore. And at that point, I was open to finishing it. But I think finally she said she wanted people to see what life was like for people in the country sometimes, because we don't often, if you spend a lot of time living in the city, you don't really understand some of these issues, particularly to do with age and retirement. one of the things she said to me was, people don't retire in the countryside. You just keep working until you die. And that's really what happened. She worked to the point where they took it all away from her, and then she died within a few weeks. It was like she had nothing left to live for, so that's how it ended, yeah.